Hey Sierra.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh,
I'm okay.
We
A
can all be.
little.
We're all
What's
friends again today.
yeah, I know. I
Sierra, if that sounded slightly less enthusiastic, you're okay.
I'm not. I tried. It's crazy. I don't know. I feel like everything's changing constantly. I like sure things are fine today, but I don't know what the
Who knows what will happen later today, tomorrow?
Quite,
exactly. We have the next 4 years of this,
quite
so.
literally, the loonies have taken over your asylum, haven't they? But I have good news, which is so I've been reading bits of sort of The Economist and Bloomberg and things like that, and basically, it's well, we'll carry on later.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi
Hello, hi
Sam.
Sam.
How are you both? Or how are you? Three of you? Four of you?
Very good, very good.
Yeah,
How are
all
you?
good, thank you.
Not bad. Yeah, I'm just currently sitting opposite Orla in DC. It's been a busy week. So we got in Monday. My sleep pattern hasn't quite shifted yet, and I'm flying out tonight. So yeah, maybe that's no bad thing. But no, it's been a really productive week. Meetings and the PR Week Crisis Comms event on Tuesday as well. So yeah, no, it's been really good.
Well, you're in the city where it's all happening at the moment as well.
Quite, yeah, yeah. Getting a straw poll of people's opinions on it has been quite interesting as well. So I've been doing my own polling with Gen Pop.
I'm
Hey,
sure it's representative.
yeah, exactly.
Great. What?
Hey, is everyone here?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi Ola. Hi
Um,
Susan.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
All good, thank you.
So, Sierra, what are we just going through the brief? What's happening?
Just an intro.
Why are we here?
Yeah, just an intro call. We wanted to set up some time to talk with you guys a couple months longer than a couple months ago, back in early in November time. We started meeting with some vendors just to check out their capabilities. It's been a while since me and Susan have had conversations with a lot of vendors out there and just want to learn like what you are doing today and get an idea of your capabilities. We originally met with two CARMA team members. I think they were in charge of APAC. I think Royce Poon might have been one of the names. And Richard and Paul, who we've been working with now to help sort of build out our new measurement framework here and help us with looking and reviewing some new vendors. Recommended you guys to us. So we just wanted to jump on a call to talk to you and learn a little bit more and see what you offer over at Karma.
sounds good. Yeah. Thank you for that insight overview. I'm mindful of the fact that you've had previous conversations. So I've connected with Andrew and Royce internally, and I've seen some of the back and forth. I think that took place over October, November last year. I'm also mindful that they have both probably kind of shared Karma's credentials, and you've had an overview as to products and services, etc., etc. I'm also mindful of the fact we've got 30 minutes. So, in terms of just the objective or your objective from this call, I don't want to just repeat the same things that have already been shared. So, is there a requirement for a refresher around essentially our core credentials and how that kind of leads into our products and services, or do you want us to really drill down specifically into our approach to measurement, evaluation, what best practice looks like, etc.?
I would think the latter, since we already kind of got an overview of everything on the call beforehand. And I think, yeah, so your approach would be helpful. And I don't know if we got a walkthrough or a demonstration before. So I sorry, it's been a while. It's been like 5 months. But I think, yeah, just your approach would be helpful. I don't think we need like to go over all the suite and everything.
Agreed.
No, that makes sense. Anything from your side, Susan, or aligned with Sierra?
No, I'm totally aligned with Sierra. Sierra is the primary leading this work, so I just flip in and out and do what she tells me to do. So
Great. Richard, Paul, anything from your side?
Well, from our perspective, I think talking about the approach, we wanted the guys to meet with you and with Orla because I think that Andrew and his colleague didn't present a solution that would be appropriate for American Express. And obviously, with our history working with CARMA, we know that you can. I think the steps here is for you to give an initial introduction to what you can do to the two ladies. The next step, should they wish, will be that we'll send you the RFP and we'll ask you to respond to that in a presentation to a wider group of American Express colleagues, explaining what your approach to that RFP would be, and to do that in a couple of weeks' time. So we're not looking for full detailed written response. It would be more present your approach. But today, it's how would you support a large international brand like this, which has different requirements in different markets, and obviously has multiple different business units and objectives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we'd just like to hear about the approach that you'd put in place.
I think you're on mute.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Brilliant. Okay, great. Okay, 25 minutes. So I won't be speaking for too long because the brains behind the operation is Orla here, and I'm clearly to support Orla. But I think it's worthwhile just giving a very kind of quick intro. Richard's point about not necessarily kind of getting the maybe the insight or the understanding from Royce and Andrew as to how CARMA supports a global operation. I've had a quick look at a previous RFI that was shared our way from Q4 2023. I'm not sure how relevant that is to this process, but obviously within that I was picking out some fairly clear scope of work and some requirements from your side as well, and obviously that all feeds into a global view here, and being able to really truly understand and appreciate the impact of the work that you're doing as a global operation. So in terms of just brief, we separate the news from the noise. Our component parts are made up of our software, which feeds into our content completeness. So obviously, there have been points coming through in terms of your requirement for print, online, social, broadcast, radio, podcasts, etc. We have the ability and the capabilities to deliver on that. And that is underpinned by our software kind of license services. I think where we probably set ourselves apart and our value proposition and our differentiator in the market is very much around how we take that software, our investment in AI when it comes to AI coding and automation, etc. And we find that balance in the blend between human expertise and human curation, and that feeds into our deliverables, be that reports, be that working with your teams in alignment to set out what your measurement program looks like, the relationship between your outputs, outcomes, outtakes feeding into there too, and ultimately delivering what matters, and then a consultancy arm that feeds into that too. I think a key point that I want to touch on is our global reach. So, I'm sitting here in Washington, DC, supporting our US function at the moment. I'm based in London with Orla as well. Our headquarters are in Dubai. We've got operations out of APAC and just recently opened a new office in Japan. So we are global, we are worldwide, and we support many of our partners in that respect. And finally, just a nod to what those look like. So we have global measurement programs with the likes of HSBC, Visa, Pepsi, etc. So we support their communication functions with monitoring, analysis, and providing insights to feed into ultimately that link between communications and business performance and business objectives. Probably leads me quite nicely into handing over to you, Orla, if you don't mind, about how we tend to approach these types of conversations, and as we sit here now, what that kind of journey looks like in helping shape and form any partnership that we might proceed with.
Thanks, Sam. So everything that we do is really based around two core things. One, what are your objectives as a comms team and how that ladders up and down from the organization's objectives? And secondly, what's your context internally? So who are the key stakeholders that you need to report into? What are the sorts of questions that you tend to be getting from them? What's the context and the culture internally in terms of what you're trying to demonstrate? So we definitely don't have a one size fits all approach. We don't try and just shoehorn you into certain metrics or certain kind of off the shelf type templated reports and so on. What we often do with a lot of our clients is we build a framework. This is obviously what you're doing with Paul and Richard. So I think hopefully that will align quite nicely. So as part of that, we obviously figure out what are your objectives, what is it you're actually trying to do, how might that differ for different areas of the business, whether that's for different business units, different regions, how that affects different stakeholders. And once we've got that in place and we've got a sense of what your metrics look like and what are those key indicators as to how well you're actually delivering on those, we then figure out the best kind of reporting mechanisms and templates and frequencies and so on. So having a framework in place first means that we can essentially mirror a very similar structure into the reports so that it's much easier to understand what any given metric is demonstrating, and having reports that are really shaped around the same sort of framework that's telling the right story. So we have an approach that is quite similar to this, very much based on the AMEX framework. But we also work very often with our clients' frameworks as well. So whatever you have put in place already or you're putting in place, we can replicate that on our end. So our approach is very much about making sure we understand you, making sure we understand the business needs and the questions that you have. We've got quite a strong history and strong credentials, I would say, in doing this with a number of different global organizations. So just a handful of the sorts of organizations we work with are HSBC, SAS, the analytics and technology company, BAE Systems, GE Vernova is a client we're actually just onboarding at the moment, GE Aerospace as well. We have a real range of different sorts of sectors and expertise that we can bring to bear. But we also then have very different reports for each of those clients, because it is about what they need to see and how they need to report upwards. So we would seek to understand with you, what is it you want to do with a report? Is it about reporting upwards and demonstrating the good work that the team is doing? Is it about understanding a little bit more detail about what's actually working, what's not working, so that the comms team themselves can actually learn from the insights and the data? Is it about providing that one sort of stop shop, that kind of big overview of what's going on a global basis, helping everyone to see the big picture and to understand all of the different moving parts? And often it's a blend of those, really. It's never usually just one or the other. So we would design everything in coordination with you to make sure that we are looking at exactly the right things, that we are building out dashboards, reports that are offline, any other type of deliverable that you need to really make sure that it is delivering on your objectives, that it's helping you to demonstrate the things you need to demonstrate. So I guess my question for you really is, what are the sorts of things that you're looking to demonstrate with this? What do you see as being the core purpose of the reporting that you want to do?
I think, like you said, probably a blend. I mean, we're still trying to build out and restructure our reporting and measurement internally. So I think we're open to working and taking suggestions from the right vendor and implementing that into our reporting. I know that we have needs for international markets. They just need help with their reporting in general, but I think like we want to be able to provide some deeper insights that ladder up to some of the bigger business objectives, along with just reporting what we're doing for the team. So it's gonna be a combination of everything. But I think, so there's a couple of things that we're trying to do. Like you said, there's not just one type of reporting or measurement that we're trying to solve for. There's a few pieces.
Well, and just like to add to that, I think there's a couple of desired outputs, for lack of a better word, right? Like one is we need to have some program efficacy that we can kind of understand. Okay, like, are these things landing? How are they landing? What are people saying? Da 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 da. I think part of it is a bit of like a listening exercise in terms of whether that be landscape mapping or kind of understanding share of voice in a certain environment, kind of pulling in what media and social are saying about us from like kind of a macro level. And that's like a second piece. And the third piece is like, how does all that ladder up to reputation, and how are we like understanding what underpins reputation, and to your point, like impact. And I think once we identify like our vendors, as Sierra said, like the work that we're going to be doing with Paul and Richard is to like understand like, okay, how do we take that and create something that really is a thoughtful, smart way for us ultimately to understand holy crap, I'm so sorry, where we are on the reputation piece. And I'm sorry, I do have to take this call, so I'm just going to put myself on mute. Carry on.
No worries, Susan. The life of comms. Yeah, that all sounds exactly like the sort of thing that is our bread and butter, essentially. So what we would probably recommend in this situation is maybe either a couple of slightly different types of deliverables, perhaps on slightly different cadences, or a report that had a lot of different sections to it. So I'm thinking particularly of some of the work we've done for BAE Systems. So it's obviously a very different industry, but they've actually come to us with quite similar questions and needs to yourselves. So we provide them with a monthly report, which gives them the big picture overview, helps them just to understand what is going on in all of their different markets around the globe, what are the reputational drivers that are coming up most for them, where are there potentially some risk areas where there's negativity cropping up that they might need to respond to, how effective are their spokespeople being, for instance, and what are the different topics and themes that are resonating most. Then we also for them do on a half yearly and full year basis a bit of a step back, so that we're able to see that kind of bigger picture of what's the trend looking like over time, how has the work of the comms team actually really impacted on any of this, and what's that bigger direction of travel. And then we also do landscape reporting for them as well at times to help them to understand what's going on within the industry and how things are shifting. So something that we did for them was looking at disruptors to their industry, because defense is obviously a very interesting and fast moving space, particularly at the moment with everything going on in the world. And they wanted to understand beyond their kind of legacy traditional parts of the business, what's going on in those more disruptive sectors. So digital, space, cyber, data, the integration of all of these different parts as well. So we looked at their industry landscape. We looked at 3 different types of competitor: the legacy defense companies, big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, and so on, but then also the disruptors that are coming into the marketplace that are very much startups, very tech focused. And we help them to understand which media is talking about which type of competitor, what are the ways in which they're talking about them. So are the traditional defense companies being seen as legacy or a bit old school? Are the new ones being talked about in a different way? And basically mapping out what that big picture looks like for them to help them to see, okay, here's where we can actually start to cut through with this. Here's where we maybe need to shift our messaging a little bit around specific topics. So that's just one approach. Another might be somewhat similar to what we do for HSBC, which is they have a monthly report that we provide for them, very much global, and again, giving them that big picture overview. And it really is focused on cutting through the noise. There are key stats that are very much related to their sentiment, to their core messages and themes that they really want to be talking about more, which ladder up directly to the organization's priorities and strategies. And the report is very much focused on what they need to know, what they should be doing more of, what they should be doing less of, and helping to give them that context around everything, not just a bunch of numbers in a dashboard or a bunch of numbers on a page, but actually explaining which are the ones that matter most, what's the direction of travel, and how they can actually input and change and essentially influence any of that from a comms perspective. But, as I've said, our approach is absolutely all about understanding exactly what your use cases are and building things around that. Everything we do for clients is very different from one to another because everyone's got a completely different set of priorities, set of stakeholders, cultural contexts, and so on. We've also got quite a lot of experience of working with different markets and helping to bring them all on board as well. So I think that's often one of the biggest challenges of trying to implement a program like this, is making sure that all of your stakeholders, everyone in the different regions, is actually on board and is moving in the right direction and they feel heard and listened to. So stakeholder mapping, actually spending the time with those markets, getting to understand what are their concerns, what are they maybe a bit worried about, what do they feel are the challenges that they've got that are specific to their market, and then being able to recommend some of the metrics and ways of reporting that will speak to that, that's still consistent with what we're looking at on that big picture global view, but is allowing them to feel like their cultural nuances are taken into consideration as well. So we find very often that people have tried to implement a global top-down kind of approach and just say, okay, these are our metrics, this is the report we're going to do. They've not spoken to anyone in the markets, and inevitably it goes a bit badly. So our experience is definitely to work in partnership with all of those markets and bring the different stakeholders along with us. So as much as, there's a lot about picking the right metrics and so on, so much of it is about the collaboration and the change management as well. It's about bringing people along on that journey and making sure that they feel heard, that they know what the purpose of the report is, so that they don't feel unfairly marked for their homework, so to speak, and just making sure that everyone is on the same page about what we're trying to achieve. And sometimes that is having then different reports for different purposes, as I said. I think sometimes when you try and shoehorn that all into one report, it can be a bit difficult to achieve. So potentially having either different sections of reports or slightly different deliverables that speak to those different objectives can be one way to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is there anything that you've been sort of thinking about, talking about with Paul and Richard that we haven't touched on, or that you sort of feel like is something you'd like to know more about?
I I don't know too much about your services or suite, so I think I don't know if you guys have any recommendations for anything else that we should learn a little bit more about on this call.
I mean, Sam can probably take us through a little bit more of the actual suite of products and so on. But Sam, can you just hop on mute for a minute? Sorry. Just while I finish up, we're sat in the same lobby, so there's a little bit of echo here. One thing that I do just want to sort of talk about is our approach and our workflow towards analysis in general and how we do it, which is very much a blend of automation, AI, and human. We're increasingly using more and more AI and automation to be able to do all of the heavy lifting for us, so that all of the easier to identify metrics, the things that are a bit more quantitative, a little bit more black and white, we're able to use AI to do those very, very quickly. We're increasingly able to use AI to do some of the more nuanced stuff as well. So it's increasingly seeing more progress on how it treats sentiment and how it treats messaging and so on. We've got a very robust process set up internally to help us do that. We've got different LLMs that we can plug into our system, but it's all protected. So it's not going out into the ether of OpenAI, for instance, and everyone being able to see your stuff. It's all very much ring fenced and protected, but we do definitely have that human intervention and review overlay. So the metrics that AI can't do, we do completely by human review. But even the metrics that it can do, we do a pretty heavy amount of QC on it to make sure that it is consistent, that we're constantly tweaking those prompts to make it as realistic as we can. And then we have essentially two sets of deliverables when it comes to that type of coded analysis, which is via dashboards or via offline reports. And a lot of our clients take a mix of both. So they have dashboards that allow them to get into the data, play around with it, filter it to exactly what they need to see, have dashboards set up for different regions, different business units that they can go into throughout the month. And then they've got the offline reports that really help them take that step back and provide the insights around it. But yeah, Sam, if you want to maybe go through kind of the broader product suite in a bit more detail.
Playing mute tennis. Yes, of course. I think I'm conscious of time. Also kind of keen to bring some of this to life as well, Ola. So I know that we have an example of a HSBC kind of offline report that can be shared. I think before just launching into that, just to recap on exactly kind of what this looks like, you could split our service into kind of 4 key pillars. Monitoring, fundamentally, that's the foundation of everything that we do. So you can only provide a certain quality of insight and measurement if your content is correct and complete. So we focus heavily on making sure that our completeness model is there across all of those channels that are required. We can operate on tiered media lists. We can operate on a model where we're just focusing specifically on the channels that are most important to you, and we can do that locally in local language, etc. We can provide that back to you in English translations, and we can also do that in local languages as well. We can support local teams and your stakeholders within those markets. We can support global teams and stakeholders from a global view too. The deliverables off the back of that, all of this coverage feeds into our insight portal, and the mechanism and the deliverable off the back of that are newsletters, curated executive briefings that have a human touch on them to make sure that they are geared to all key stakeholders through your business, all the way to where we service our partners, delivering a executive briefing straight to the CEO and delivering the information that matters to that individual. Real-time news and social alerts. We have a WhatsApp offering, particularly around kind of crisis communications and reputation management, that we can put into gear to make sure that we are delivering the insight and the news and the media that you need as and when you need it to.
Like it gets sent to, like, you get a ping to WhatsApp, like a text kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The second part, then feeding through to evaluation, which obviously Orla has covered today. I think she touched on it, but the deliverable off the back of it is that we can feed this insight into our online dashboards. I think a really important thing to mention is that you're not necessarily just seeing automated insight within the dashboard. We have the capabilities to be able to put human curated insight into a platform, into an online dashboard too. There's no limit to the number of users that can go and log into that, so it can reach far and wide, and feeding into all those key stakeholders. Naturally have the ability to filter it by market, by regions, etc. So the interactivity, the UX UI is second to none in your ability to be able to manipulate the data and get the read that you need to do. And we have insights reports, obviously, which we spoke through. They can be delivered on a monthly, quarterly, biannually basis, depending on the frequency that you would need them. We can also deliver campaign reports as and when required as well. The integrated research piece is something that I'm very passionate about. My background has been in media intelligence. I've worked with Paul and Orla at previous companies before, and so my knowledge is underpinned in the power of content, the power of media insight, delivering true impact. I also have a background in consumer insights and audience research as well. So we have the capability here to take what you would consider traditional social media, but also in audience research, integrate the two to really understand what your audiences are seeing, what they're thinking, and ultimately what they're doing. And I think that's such a powerful approach to be able to say, from an AMEX perspective, this is the media coverage that we're getting, but how is it shifting perception? How is it impacting signups to your credit card, for example? How is it actually really driving through to those kind of clearly linked business objectives that you've got? And we find that the integration of that research component is a fantastic way to be able to see that. So that's built around our measurement frameworks. That's that integrated research piece. And we have a market research function that we can pull into specifically around our proprietary reputation measurement program that we've recently launched, which Orla has been leading on, and had some success around that too, which is focused on 6 key specific pillars. We can have another call that focuses on that, but we're putting a lot of work into that integrated research piece. And then finally, our consultancy offering as well. So going over and above, not necessarily just providing you with logins to a platform, providing you with a CS contact and asking you to go away and figure it all out yourselves. One of our differentiators in the market, one of our value props is we work in partnership with agencies, companies out there to make sure that you're getting what you'll need from me, and then we walk through this process together as partners. We can evolve, we can be agile, and we can build and grow as we go into our partnership and our relationship. So those are ultimately the pillars. Orla, I don't know if it's worth, what's the time? Worth taking a minute, 2 minutes just to focus on HSBC, just to bring this to life a little bit.
Sure, I will pull that up and share my screen. Bear with me, not as used to the WebEx environment.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Always good to get used to new things. So just give you a very kind of quick overview just to let you see what these kinds of reports might look like. So this is for HSBC. It's very much focused on showing them the big picture. So they've got some key metrics, and as you can see, the insights are structured at the top to show top stories, what they need to know, what they should be doing more of. Then we get into a little bit more detail around their strategic pillars. We look at the trends over time. And then we basically have a section for each pillar where we're looking at their core messaging, how much that's coming through, who's delivering it, what are the key stories. And as you can see at the bottom on the left-hand side there, every slide also has actionable learnings so that we're trying to help for every strategic pillar they've got, we're trying to help them understand what should they do with this information. It's all well and good being told what the information is and this has gone up, this has gone down, but what can they do from a comms perspective to actually do things differently? So that is just a very quick run through of that particular report. I'll just stop sharing now. I'm just conscious of the time. We could, of course, take you through a whole ream of different examples. But yeah, just wanted to give you at least something, just to give you something a little bit more tangible to get an understanding of what reports might look like. For a lot of our other clients, they focus a little bit more on market by market breakdowns. So they might have more regional overviews that are pulling out different results per market or having sections in the report that are per market or region as well. So there's, an almost unlimited number of ways to slice and dice all of the data, depending on who needs to see what. Some of our clients, it's very much about they do need to have individuals within the business, so different business areas, different region heads and so on to see their bit of the report. Others, they want to see kind of the more holistic picture. But we can also do a mix of both.
Sounds good. I do know that we're at time. Would you be able to send that deck over? Just want to have to review everything over again. And I know Richard and Paul mentioned earlier, I think we'd be interested in just for the interest of time sending over an RFP so we can get that process started. And then kind of get a tentative week. I don't know. I was hoping maybe that we could send it over today, tomorrow, and then maybe the week of April 29th, get something in the books for a presentation. Does that work for you all?
Yeah, works for me. I think Ola's nodding as well, so that would work. Within the RFP, is there timelines and a structure as to kind of our deliverables off the back of it in terms of as and when you need things and what that looks like, or are we just working to a presentation before we share any kind of RFP or any proposal to you?
Sorry, a timeline for like deliverables for the presentation or what we're looking for?
Yeah, so just the whole RFP process. So do you require a written proposal ahead of that presentation, and then the presentation is a...
Oh, yeah, no, we don't. We're doing it a little differently over here just for the sake of time. It would be nice if you could send it over for us to review beforehand. I think a couple of days before is okay. If you need a little bit more time, I know it's a quick turnaround. So a couple of days I think should be okay to review before. If I think that's okay.
Great.
The RFPs, as I said at the beginning, Sam, is pretty broad. It does indicate a budget, so I think the guys would be looking for you to say what type of thing do you think you can do, and what would your approach be within that budget constraint. I'll check in with Sierra, but if you have questions, then feel free to send them to perhaps Sierra, Paul, and me, and we'll respond to you and help you make it make it as relevant as you can. But it is deliberately a pretty broad document, and we're looking for ideas in terms of where the process is. A number of vendors have already been seen, and we've recommended a couple of more to make sure that they're looking at the all sort of different types of organisations within the market, and hence this conversation today.
That's all clear. Thank you. Yeah, mindful we have 30 minutes. We try and put our best foot forward to show you kind of what you need to know. Having an RFP and having that more detailed view will make sure that when we do come to the presentation, we can take you through that journey with us and really get to the crux of what you're looking for. So thank you for your time. Sierra, in terms of timings for that meeting, do you want us to share some options with you? Do you want to share some options with us? How do you want it to work?
I'll share some options with you guys. I'll try to aim. Will you be back in the UK or at that time? Yeah. So I'll send around some options that work for us and everybody on the call. And we have other team members dialing in, so I'm playing a little bit of working with a bunch of calendars. So yeah.
No problem. That's fine. I'm going to go into a couple of meetings. I'll share the deck with you before the end of the play today. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.